Lijep pozdrav i dobrodošli u drugi Gloria i Materia podcast The Art of Life, u kojem govorimo o različitim filozofijama i pristupima za življenje smislenog i ispunjenog života, o well-beingu, svemu onome što nam pomaže da se osjećamo bolje, da izgledamo bolje, kao i pronalasku zadovoljstva i svrhe. A sada ću se prebaciti na engleski jer je naša današnja gošća US Ambassador to Croatia, Madam Nathalie Rayes. Madam Ambassador, thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor having you here today with us.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for having me here. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Ever since we first met at your residence a couple of months ago, and then we saw each other a few times afterwards, I immediately felt connected to you. You're warm, approachable, yet highly professional, and I think that's such a great combination. What I particularly like is that you seem to genuinely like what you do. You are very active. You're getting to know our people, our country, and it's such a beautiful thing to see.
Well, yes, thank you, Maya, for the question. And indeed, I love what I do, and I think that it's when you love what you do, people appreciate it, and it's magnetic. And I get a lot of energy from other people, and so I love to get to know Croatia, the people, the culture, the history, the tradition, and so I'm just taking it all in, and so I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time, and enjoying every moment of it.
That's great. You were also in Germany recently. You watched that game.
I know.
Croatia,
I was in
Italy.
Germany.
How was
I tried. That was not too long ago. It's still a fresh wound. So the game was pretty spectacular till the end.
Was this your first live game?
This was my first Croatian live game, and I can tell you that the Croatians, the soccer team, the football team has the #1 fans. It was unbelievable to be in the streets of Leipzig with thousands and thousands of Croatians and walking all together from the fan area all the way to the stadium. It was a powerful movement of people. And such love for culture and love for Croatia and the national team. And so it was great. And I would recommend anybody to go and see a Croatian game because the fans are magnetic. The stadium was filled with mostly Croatians. I feel like 80% of the stadium were Croatians. And there's so many outside of the stadium. And of course, you know, the Croatian team performed so well. And unfortunately, it did not. The outcomes were not what we expected. But you know, they go on and they move on, and they'll do great things in the future.
We'll see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. You've been in Croatia for 6 months now, around 6 months?
I've been in Croatia for a little over 5 months. I arrived January 20th of this year. Although people feel like I've been here longer.
Yes.
Hopefully that's a good sign. I've been very, very active, but we arrived as a family January 20th, and January 25th I presented my credentials to President Milanovic. And so it's been an incredible 5 months, and one that I'm very, very happy for the journey of it all.
It's great having you here. But you also have a special bond to Croatia. Can you share it with us? Something that happened here like 20 years ago?
Yeah, well, you know, it's so two special bonds. I know which one you're referring to, but let me share the first one. So I grew up in Los Angeles, the vibrant city of Los Angeles, the 20th largest economy in the world. And I worked for the mayor of Los Angeles. I was his deputy chief of staff from 2001 to 2005. Seems like a long time ago, but time goes like this. And one of the most vibrant Croatian diasporas has flourished since the late 1800s in San Pedro in Los Angeles. And so I know Croatians very, very well from living in Los Angeles and working with the Croatian community there. But 17 years ago, I had my honeymoon and had a beautiful honeymoon in Korčula and in Dubrovnik here. And this is before you became the mecca of tourism. Now we have 700,000 Americans flocking to Croatia every year. Plenty of Americans.
Croatia is very popular in the States.
It's a wonderful place. Well, throughout the world, really, but especially Americans. There's a special place for the Adriatic in many hearts of Americans.
Yes, it's true. And when have you decided to go into diplomacy? Why have you chosen that path?
Well, you know, I think that when you do what you'd love to do, you know, things line up. I've always felt like I want to give back to the world. That's always been my calling. And I was born in Venezuela, and I immigrated to the United States in 1984. And the United States has given me everything I am. It's made me who I am today. And so no greater honor for me than to represent my country abroad as an immigrant who chose the United States of America as her home. I'm so proud to represent a country that's given me everything abroad, and being that example of what America is. America is the American dream, and I feel like I embody that. My mother has not even high school education. My father has a high school education. They came to the United States for education to ensure that we had a better future. And indeed, America did pave that better future, and we paved it for ourselves with the opportunities that we were granted and the opportunities that we took thanks to America.
It's such a great thing to hear that. I also love America. I've lived everywhere across the globe, but I've never felt more welcomed and more at home as I did there.
Yeah, well, America is the land of immigrants, right?
It's true. It's true. Everyone is from somewhere.
We accept everybody, all people, all colors, all ethnicities and nationalities. So it's a wonderful place.
So you said you were born in Venezuela, then you moved to LA. I just got back from LA, actually.
Yes, I know. Congratulations on the graduation.
Thank you. So how would you describe your life there? And is LA still your base when you go to America? Is it still a place where you go to?
Yeah, well,
you have your home there? Or?
Interesting enough, my mother is there and my brothers and sisters are there. LA is always will be my home. Although I live now in Massachusetts and Boston. I just had a beautiful homecoming not too long ago. 2 weeks ago, I was in Los Angeles with the Croatian community. It was so vibrant and beautiful. It was Statehood Day, and I went to celebrate with the Croatian diaspora in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles has a very dear place in my heart. It's where I first started my career in city government, and my family's there, and my good friends are there. But really, home is wherever I am.
Yes.
And so I think that's a very interesting question, because always we're trying to figure out where's our home. And I find Croatia now as my home. I live here, my family's here, and I'm making a life for myself here. I have many homes. I was born in Venezuela, raised in Los Angeles, have a home in Boston, Massachusetts, and I live here.
Croatia is your home.
So this is my home.
As a Latina, you were very much involved in Latin community in the United States, and you also chaired several Hispanic organizations. Are you still active in that field?
Yeah, well, as ambassador, I have to resign from any advocacy work or any board service. So my full-time job is serving America here in Croatia, and so that's what I currently do.
It's really interesting because I lived in the States throughout my late teens, early to mid-20s, and I've made many friends. But I've always felt special bond with the Latinas. Actually, one of my best friends and my maid of honor is Colombian. She lives in Australia now, and the other one is Peruvian. She lives in Lima. And I always felt there is something maybe similar to Croatians and Latin people. Do you think? Do you see the connection?
I think you're absolutely right. I think people are like, oh my God, you made Croatia home so quickly, and you connect us so quickly. I think that you've hit the nail on the head in the way that there's love for family.
Yes.
There's love for culture. There's love for tradition and rituals.
Exactly.
And so the other day I was having a wonderful meal in a Croatian home on a Sunday. And it reminded me of being home in Latin America, because that lunch lasted 7-8 hours, and at the end we were singing, and that's part of the same DNA in many ways, in the fact that we really cherish community, we really build on our family, and we create rituals that we pass on to next generations.
That's so beautiful.
And it's a love for life.
Love for life.
And I think that that resonates with me, because it's part of who I am as well.
Yes, beautiful. You're a mom to 2 teenage boys. How do you balance your private life with your professional life?
Yeah, well, it's a difficult balance, and sometimes I don't know if I have a personal life, because a lot of my world has revolved in the private sphere, even from a young age, working for the mayor of Los Angeles and then in the private sector and the nonprofit. So I really have had a public life my whole life. So it's hard to distinguish where private starts and where public begins. And my kids have always been part of my life, personally and professionally as well. They've been in every step of the way. For me, that's very important. I've always involved them in everything. When I was a younger mother, they would travel with me everywhere because mom was on the go and they had to go on the go with me. And then when school started, that was very painful for me because that's when the flying had to stop and they had to focus on school and they couldn't come with mom. And so I include my kids on everything. I know sometimes people are like, oh, your kids have to go to that. They're pretty capable kids. They can hold their own. And I think the earlier you introduce them to a working mom, the better. And so they've only known a working mom. Yeah. And I think that they're better boys for that.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. So we both have a 13-year-old son, and your other son.
It's challenging, no?
It's very challenging. I just wanted to ask you, how do you deal with this period? For me, I've just, entered it and it's hard.
It's difficult, So I have, Julian is going to be 15, Alexander is going to be 13, and there's a lot of bickering in the household. And there's a lot of fighting in the household. And, nothing is perfect. And so, this idea of perfection and the kids.
Just like life.
Yeah, exactly. So, the kids are going to fight and the kids are going to beat each other up. And regardless of how much we try and ensure that they are, kids that will not do that, they're going to be kids.
They will.
And so, I try and keep them active. I think it's very important to keep the family active. And things to look forward to. And so, they play basketball. They're good basketball players. They're playing tennis. I like for them to be in the outdoors. And I like to also give them life skills. I think it's very important early on to give kids life skills. And so
I love that. It's what you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and so they're learning to cook. And they're learning to wash their clothes and do the laundry and, garden.
Love it.
And so I think that we need to make sure that we're leading by example and creating kids for the future. And those kids need to be well-rounded and rooted. Yeah. And so for me, that's very important that they have that 360-degree view and being rooted kids in principles that matter. And for me, those principles are hard work, dedication, and integrity. Yeah. And so regardless if they're 0, they're 2, they're 3, they're 4, those are the principles that I want, that I've always inculcated in my children from day one.
So important.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, look, this phase will pass. Just like, it was so difficult when they were little and changing diapers and doing and bottle feeding and all these things that we had to do. And that period is behind us. And this is a new phase and a new period in our lives together. And so I can't wait for them to be the adults that I know that they're going to be, and that they're expecting of themselves too. It's it's very interesting because I try not to be too much in like what I expect from them. I grew up that way, what people expected of me, and that really mattered to me. But I try to let them be who they want to be.
That's great.
And I see, which is very interesting, that their expectations are much higher than what I would expect for them. They are striving for greatness at a different level. They want to achieve. They want to do better. And I tell them, like, slow down. It's okay. You don't have to get that A+. A+ means, top grade, right? You can just, it's fine. It's all going to work itself out.
Right.
And so I think that you just have to listen to kids. And I think that I've learned so much from my children. I'm a better human being because of my children.
Yeah.
And I'm braver, and I'm stronger, and I'm more daring, and I'm willing to take more risks when I see them and how they are accomplishing. And so I think we have so much to learn from young people.
That's so true. They're great teachers.
Yeah, and that's why I surround myself with young people, because I think that not only my children, but just everybody's child and everybody's, who's thinking outside the box and who's just, just really striving for a better future.
Amazing. Thank you. Now let's get into well-being.
Okay.
What does health and wellness mean to you? What do you do to feel better? Do you have any special rituals or routines that you apply that help you lead a more balanced life?
Well, I think that's a really important question. I think everybody's different. For me, mental health is most important. And so I do really practice a lot of mental well-being, from self-talk to affirmations to meditation, to just refocusing your mind. I think it's very, very important.
Very important.
When your mind is clear and focused, everything else will flow. And so, that for me is primary focus for me. I want to make sure I have a clear mind, and a clear perspective and a clear view. And so, and then everything else, the body, I obviously, yoga and hard working out just also helps with the adrenaline flowing and the mental well-being. And so I do like to be outdoors, take long walks. Deep breathing, I think, is very, very important. We forget the power of our breath.
Breath is essential.
It's essential. You can't live without breath. But so
so important.
When I think about, I'm stressed out, I just take a couple of deep breaths and recenter myself. And so I think that important to be healthy physically, but at times we need to make sure that we center the mind.
It's really important. And you grew up in LA, and LA is very into health and well-being. So you've been surrounded with all those, I guess, activities and all the possibilities. It's
absolutely
on another level.
And I think that what you just said is so important, the possibilities, because not everything works for everybody. So I think you have to see the array of possibilities and try different things. And
see what works for you.
And see what works for you, because just because it works for me might not work for you, or vice versa. And so I think at times we say, this is a recipe for success. You have to do A, B, and C. And if I don't do A, B, and C, then I'm not going to be successful, or I'm not going to be healthy, or that person did it, and that's why I have to.
It's very individual.
Just do you.
Exactly.
Figure out how to be healthy for you. And everything else, I think, flows.
Exactly. What would you say was the best decision you've ever made regarding your health?
The best decision I ever made? Well, I think that prioritizing my health. Because at times you feel like, I can't do that because I have to hang out with my children, or I can't do that because work is calling, or I can't do that because I have all these other things. Like saying, I need half an hour, 45 minutes for me.
Exactly.
I think that's really important, because we're taught that just give, and I'm a giver by nature, and at times I have to say no. Well, what does Nathalie Rayes need? What do I need right now? And it's prioritizing you, which is not in my DNA at times, and so I have to remind myself, wait a second here. If I'm not well, then nobody's well. And if I'm not well, I can't take care of others. And that came to me when I got very sick.
I just wanted to ask you, at what time have you realized
and I think, I was very, very sick, almost dying after my second pregnancy with Alexander. And I had pulmonary embolism and pneumonia, and was hospitalized for 11, 12 days. And it was awful. It was awful. I had a newborn baby. I had a 1-year-old at home. And they needed their mother, and I could not be there for my children at the most critical time. A newborn and a 1-year-old who's waiting for his mom. And I realized, my God, my life could be over. I'm 35 years old. I have so much to give, and I have so much to give to these two little boys. Yes. And I left that hospital with a new perspective of the importance of me, and the importance now, the responsibility of taking care of me, because I have these two boys, and they need a healthy mother to, for them to be with.
Yes.
I lost my father when I was 10 years old, and so I didn't want them to lose their mother, and how the hardship of that, and the emotional roller coasters that they had to do with. So that's when I prioritized my health.
So then you've changed certain things and started.
Then I changed, and I said, you know what? I have to work out. I have to meditate. I have to do yoga. I have to go for long walks. And at times, I don't have to do anything.
Exactly. Anything that makes you feel good.
Yeah,
and if it's just sit and do nothing, then
that's fine. At times, I need to just sleep a little more.
Yeah.
And so again, like, you know what's right for you.
Exactly. We just have to listen to ourselves.
Exactly.
Right? And then we hear if we're quiet enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, you have to sit still, and that's when the best ideas come to you.
I know that you love quotes and you share them regularly on your social media channels. Could you mention one quote that really moved something within you? For me, this was, for example, I was in a very low period of my life, and there's one quote that goes, "Don't fear change, fear being at the exact same place a year from now." I think it's really powerful, and that was when I really started thinking about certain things. Do you have any quote like that?
I do. I have plenty of quotes.
It's hard to pick one.
It's hard to pick,
I know.
And I choose different ones at different times. But the one that always resonates to me is actually from my aunt, who was a very powerful figure in my home, the matriarch of our household. And she would say, "Tú sí puedes. You can do it.
You can do it."
And I think that that's so powerful, and when I feel doubt or fear, those words come to me. Tú,
so
she's like, tú, you can do it.
Wow.
And she would always say, pa'lante. Pa'lante means forward. We always move forward. And so, again, I think that it's important. At different times I choose different things, but the continuous one is my aunt's words and her voice resonating in my ears saying,
very beautiful.
Tú sí puedes.
So powerful.
You can do it.
It's great. It's great. Here we discuss different life experiences and lessons. Each of us is on its own journey. As we grow, we learn, we heal. What would you say was the biggest life lesson for you so far, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my God, that's a hard question, because I've had so many life lessons.
I know. Something that you would
we expect life to be like this, and that's not really the way that life is. It's not an upward trajectory. It is an up and down. And so I have to say, I can't choose one because it's too difficult for me. I'm going to choose three, and I'll say it very quickly.
Yeah.
So moving to the United States was, something that was very impactful to me. I was 9 years old. I spoke no English, and that was, a time that I thought, my God, what am I doing here? New country.
It was hard for you at the beginning.
It was beyond hard. I went from a small little town in Anaco, Venezuela, to a large metropolis like Los Angeles, and it was a complete culture shock. Learning English in fifth grade, not the easiest thing, and kids are not the kindest.
Yeah.
So that was very difficult for me, but I made it through to the other side. I think I speak okay English now, and and a year later my father passed away, so that was also heartbreaking for me, and it's something that I carry with me every day. That memories is awful, and the grieving process is never ending, and so those two things were very, very anchored my life in many ways and changed my trajectory in so many ways, and then losing things. So I lost my father, I lost my hometown of Venezuela, and I lost a mayoral race. When I worked for the mayor of Los Angeles, I was his deputy chief of staff. I was the youngest deputy chief of staff in the history of Los Angeles. I was 26. It was a big job.
Very young.
I was very young, but as we were talking about, the opportunity was there. I met the opportunity. I didn't sleep probably for 4 years, but it was worth every moment of it.
I can imagine.
And we lost our re-election, and I was 30 when we lost, and I thought my life was over. And I really did, and it was heartbreaking, and it was very depressing for me. And what I did then is ensure that everybody that worked with me had a job, including the mayor. I actually saw him in Los Angeles, and he reminded me, he's like, "You even got me a job, Nathalie." and I left Los Angeles because I was, and that's the other thing, that you have to do what's right for you. Most people said to me, "You know what, you're going to be seen as a has-been, that you can't find a job." I had plenty of job opportunities. Don't make a mistake about that. But I chose not to work. And so they're like, "Well, you were deputy chief of staff to being unemployed. What are people going to think about you?" I don't care what people think about me. I need to take care of me.
You have your own way.
Yeah, and so that was actually the best thing I did, because it opened up a totally new window for me. So I went from the government, working in the city of Los Angeles, to the private sector. I don't think I would have ever gone to the private sector if it wasn't the fact that we had lost our re-election.
Sure.
So in every loss, there is a gain of some sort, an opportunity that you have to seize. And so I want to just, long way to get to the answer, but I think it's hard for me to choose one particular point. There were several points in my trajectory that have gotten me to where I am and that have changed the course of my history.
It's just important to keep moving and to go on.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly right.
No matter if you lose, but just keep on going.
Exactly, and listen to your gut. Like, your gut never fails you.
That's so important.
Forget
so
about,
important.
There's a lot of noise in the world. A lot of people who, but another thing is that listen to the other people. I think it's, I love to get advice. It's free. I take it from everywhere. I think it's a wonderful thing because I don't know everything and I know what I don't know.
Of course.
And so I love to, if you have advice for me, give it to me. I might not take it, but I love to hear it and then figure out on my own how to move forward.
Because nobody knows you better than you.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
We all have our hard times. Life is full of ups and downs, high and low, and many people still seek professional help in those situations, or they use various self-help techniques. How do you cope in those times, and who do you turn to?
Yeah, I think it's important that if you need help, that you seek professional advice and help. I think that that's important, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, more and more people are seeking help, and I think that that's very powerful, the power of realizing that you need help and seeking advice from professionals. I personally have a great network of friends and family that have been that network for me. The going gets rough. And it gets rough for a lot of us, for all of us.
For all of us. It's part of the life.
It's part of it. And so you have to have the tools in your toolkit to be able to deal and manage with hard situations. And so, at times I breathe. At times I take long walks. At times I call my friends. And at times I do affirmations. I do have an app that pops up every second, every 5 minutes.
I love that.
Of affirmations, of things to just keep me going for the day. And so that really helps me.
Affirmations are so powerful.
Yeah, and so you forget at times to do them. And so the app which is called I Am. I know my kids are gonna say, my God,
I Am
Mom,
is the best name.
I Am. and they pop up every 5 to 10 minutes and they just remind me of where I am and where I wanna be. And how to continue being healthy.
I think I am is so powerful because everything you say after I am determines your future in a way. I am this, I am that. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's absolutely right. It really is. I think it's very powerful. The power of words and the power of the mind, like in connecting
self-talk.
Self-talk. I think it's very, very important.
It's crucial.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you like to read?
I do like to read. I've been reading a lot about Croatia lately, and a lot of cable. So in my field of work now, diplomacy, we're always constantly writing things and sending things and reading things, and so and that's so wonderful because I think that that's how we continue. Like I've grown and learned so much in the last 5 months, which is incredible, because I think that that's so important to be able to learn every day and to grow every day.
It's amazing.
It's so important. And I think that you could be stuck in a job for many years and you're in cruise control, as we call it. That you know how to do it. You close your eyes and you press play and just go. And really, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
I guess collecting a paycheck is important. That's important. You want to get paid for what you do. But, if you can challenge yourself a little bit and be able to learn every day a little more, the potential is just exponential.
It's unbelievable. I agree. Can you share with us your top 3 book recommendations?
Oh my God, top 3.
It's hard.
I love The Power of Now.
I love that book.
Yeah, that's a good
I love
one.
that book.
The Alchemist. Which I love very, very much. I think that's a very powerful book. And Seeing 100 Years of Solitude.
Oh my God, I love that book. And I was One of my best friends that I've mentioned, the Colombian one, she gave me that book at the beginning of 2000s.
So those are really good books.
Those are really good books because he's Colombian as well.
He's Colombian,
Gabriel
of course.
Garcia Marquez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So beautiful.
brilliant writer.
So beautiful. Oh. What would you say is the greatest luxury in your life?
My greatest luxury, spending time with my children.
Yeah,
For me, that's the greatest luxury.
It is. Like,
just, hanging out, watching a movie together.
anything, right?
Anything.
Those moments are so precious.
Eating together. That for me is a great luxury.
So true. What would you say, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh my God.
Maybe the one from your aunt.
I know, great advice, best advice. I think the one from my aunt. I think that, in my 20s, I always, not always, I doubted myself. You grow into yourself, I think, in your 30s and 40s. And she was a guiding force for me. Having me never doubt and never fear, and knowing that as long as I did the right thing, the road would be paved for me.
Mm-hmm. And you will be fine.
Yeah, I will be fine.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's very powerful. And I think, my dad's early intervention, he used to tell me, if you don't steal, cheat, or lie, you will always be my daughter. But if you steal, cheat, or lie, he would disown me. And there was like no question about it that he would disown me. And so, I inculcate that in my children too.
That's amazing.
And I think that those are important principles. And so I think the combination of an early upbringing that really rooted me in basic values that have propelled me to where I am today, those resonate with me.
Mm-hmm. Really nice. And the last question, and I know you like to end conversations with this one, is what brings you joy?
Oh my God, what brings me joy? Sitting here with you brings me joy. Everything that I do, really, I find joy in everything I do. As I tell my children, I say, if you're not happy and if you're uncomfortable, there's something wrong, change it. So I find joy in every experience. And if you don't find joy in every experience, change it.
Change it. Do something
different.
Yeah.
And so if you're uncomfortable, change it. And if you're not finding joy, change it. So I live my life in the light and in joy.
It's so important because joy should be the purpose of our lives.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So nice having you here.
This was a great conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I really look forward to our future endeavors.
I know. I can't wait.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hvala i vama i vidimo se sljedeći mjesec. Lijep pozdrav.